normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about Disney and about how the problems that they've been having.
Let's.
We were saying that people are being fired from movies, or I don't know if those Disney movies, but because of their talks about Hamas or Israel or whatever. I'm also concerned that big production companies, Paramount, I don't know, call them out by name if it even matters, but that they have large institutional investors. I don't know if you guys do too. I know their angels are like 100,000 people that all fund the programs together.
It's a mixture.
A mixture, okay, because if
crowd and institutional.
If one big institutional guy is like, listen, my family's in Israel and I want only pro-Israel movies and propaganda out there right now, and full stop, then they're going to pull all their money from a company that's trying to make a movie with an actor that's crapping on Israel potentially. And so these investors are deciding the creative flow of the movie industry in that sense, or of that industry. And that's a fail, man. If you can't be as creative as you want with your best actors and your craziest ideas, good luck. How can you compete with people that are doing that? Well, so how do you guys work with the institutional to not get co-opted by the institutional investments?
So the only way to get through Angel is through the Angel Guild. So that those 100,000 people, Jeffrey's the chief content officer. He can't, if he loved your show, Ian, that you were sharing with us, he can't take it there unless the Angel Guild sees it first. And they are like they can see whether something has a problem. That's what the wisdom of crowds is that
Sound of Freedom was watched by 30 plus million people worldwide in theaters because 1,000 Angel Guild members voted for that show.
Yep.
Wow. So like if a movie got made with an actor that was making these comments about Hamas or something, but the Angel investor, if the Guild was like, we still love it, put it through, there's some dissent. Are there investors that once it gets through, they're like, I'm not going to put money on that one? Is that part of the process?
They have a choice. They have a choice whether they want to invest in a project, for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't guarantee that we'll be able to get the film to do a partnership with the film. Like there's still a lot of things that have to happen after the Guild, but we cannot take a film into Angel Studios until it passes the Guild. And so there's 100,000 people. They've invested in different projects. They go on. They become members of the Guild, and then you get to, as a member of the Guild, you get to vote on the stuff that goes to theaters, vote on the stuff that goes on the platform, and if you don't pass it, it doesn't come on Angel.
And is that the threshold? 1,000 people? You said 1,000 people.
1,000 is like statistical significance.
Yeah, statistical significance of the audience.
Yeah, and so you'll have a few hundred to 1,000 people watching each movie. There's 21 movies submitted a week right now to Angel Studios on average. 21 movies a week. There's 100,000+ people going through these movies, voting. Then they decide what comes in. And then as a Guild member, when you become a member of the Guild, it's like an Amazon Prime membership or a Costco membership, you get perks like you get complimentary tickets to every single movie because you're an Angel executive. Like,
I was going to say, I like this idea. Ian's concern is one guy can be like, I'm shutting your movie down because I don't like what that person said.
That's impossible.
And exactly. I may disagree with these people cheering Hamas or being critical of Israel to varying degrees, but I do think they have a right to speak their mind, and it is shocking when a studio says they're going to shut them down. So I like the idea that with you guys, one person can't just do it. It has to be a community effort. Mm-hmm. So think about it this way. If you get a lead actor in a film, and then he comes out, to do press for it and says a whole bunch of nasty, awful, like really shockingly offensive stuff, and then the community says, we don't want to go forward with this project, that would end the project?
That would.
That's what. Right.
I think that's the way to do it. I'll tell you why. Not all speech is socially acceptable. If there was a guy who went out and started demanding that schools start giving these books to kids, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be like, no. Like, this is not someone we want to support, right? That crosses a line for something we don't want. By all means, he can go do his own thing, but we're not going to greenlight it. However, it's not one guy. It's a large community that has to come to a statistically significant decision amongst themselves.
Is there ever
decentralization?
Is there a cap on individual investors so that one guy can't come in with $100 million and be like, I want to?
Yeah. So the last investment, I think the cap was 10, or was it 15 last time?
15.
I don't know. $15,000.
I don't remember the last one.
That's very small.
Yeah.
15,000.
Yeah, it was smaller.
I thought you were going to say 15 million. Okay,
No.
The cap. Now the film was made with bigger investors, but once it passed the Guild, and then it took on P&A money, which is the way it did the crowd money.
What's P&A?
It's prints and advertising. So back in the day, prints meant you print out a reel of film and ship it to every single theater so that they can play it on their projectors. Prints, and then you print out the movie posters. Those were the prints that cost a lot of money just to get those out to the world. And then advertising is how you promote and make awareness around the film. So currently, like, prints are like, a lot of them are done over satellite, and a lot of them are done
Shipping
with
drives.
little hard drives.
Yeah.
You still mail the hard drives?
Yeah, to a lot of them.
Is that just old guard, like not figuring out they can email it yet?
Yeah, yeah, they don't have great internet, maybe.
Or their projectors aren't connected to.
These are
the internet.
multi-terabyte
Yeah.
movies. These are multi-terabyte movies. You have to have really good internet in order to bring down that level of a film. So prints and advertising are, the prints are the printing out the posters and that stuff, and then advertising. And the crowd invests in prints and advertising. They did it for Sound of Freedom. They put $5 million to get Sound of Freedom out to the theaters. They put it into After Death. They put it into His Only Son. They put it in The Shift, which is coming out on December 1st. And there's thousands of people helping these movies get off the ground, and they become angel investors. And then once you become an angel investor, you become part of the guild, and you get a vote on the next content that comes in. And you're part of the new gate. You're replacing the gatekeeper model, the old gatekeeper model.
And you're right, Ian.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
In the traditional system, one studio would cut the check for P&A, and they get to decide. And in this one, we want as many checks as possible because all those people, they're part of the audience. They want to be part of shaping the culture.
They're going to drag all their friends out to the movie.
Yep.
All their relatives.
Right.
Everybody they can get.
I think an important distinction, in the idea of cancel culture. Cancel culture was basically they would dig into your past, find something you said 10 years ago that either is no longer culturally relevant or now is considered unacceptable, and use that to destroy your life. Or in the most egregious example, this race car driver's dad dropped a racial slur in the 80s before he was born. So a sponsor dropped him because of it. I'm like, that's insane. But let's be real. We had that woman on Culture War, and she said I was pro-censorship because I said I don't want these adult books in grade schools, and I'm like, yes. Next question. No question whatsoever. It's not this idea that we think everyone should be able to say literally anything in our private spaces or in our industry, or that we have to invest in it. Freedom of speech means you can live your life without government interference. And opposing cancel culture, first and foremost, has to do with our moral basic lines, right? So what happens is the woke left comes out and says, oh, we've hereby decided that this thing is no longer acceptable socially, and you're going to lose your job because of it. Or talking with this person is no longer socially acceptable. And we're like, dude, what are you doing firing this person over this stuff? These people are saying things that aren't even that offensive. Men aren't women, though? And Meghan Murphy gets banned from Twitter for that? That's ridiculous. Now, if someone went on Twitter and literally was advocating for violence or terror or genocide, then we might be like, well, okay, well, now we're getting into dangerous territory. As for like the calls for extreme violence, we've actually had a great conversation on this show about the limits of it. If someone is speaking generally about war and conflict and targeting different groups, we kind of shrug. We're like, look, when they call for death to Russians, Facebook allows that. Now, if someone goes on Twitter and just tells people to, as Ian puts it, imminent threat targeting a group of people, then we say, okay, that's crossing the line. But my view is this. We shouldn't tolerate extremist opinions. We shouldn't have to pay for them and fund them. I think we can allow and agree with on social media platforms a wide range of opinions that we disagree with and don't like to challenge. But there's absolutely a red line for all of us where we're like, nah, this is too much. And it's like advocating children be exposed to adult content, things like that, probably crossing the line. But the other thing I'll mention too is I'm not here to be the arbiter of morality and tell you where a system like Twitter should determine, or X, where people can and can't say things. My attitude will typically be, let the crazy people say the crazy things so we can know they're saying it. That being said, if an actor came out and was advocating for a whole bunch of really nasty stuff, like grooming kids and things like that, I certainly would not want to be involved in a project with them. And I think that's fair that people would say no to it. The big difference is we're taking back the Overton window where the left said that saying something like we should have immigration controls. Oh, you're canceled, you're fired. That's what's crazy. That's a reasonable thing to say.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think part of the desire to push the window so far is to obscure the idea of what's right and what's wrong. I think there are a lot of people who I wouldn't agree with politically who would also say, no, I don't want children exposed to sexual content at a young age or inappropriately. But there is another narrative, especially on the progressive left, that says, oh, well, maybe you're oppressing someone by saying those urges are bad or condemning them. They want there to be no hard line no. And I think they want you to feel more okay with compromising your values. And that's there's no way to maintain a culture if that's also the energy that you're putting out.
When I first went to college, one of my friends, her dad said, you can go to college and keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.